finally time, people. Let's talk Eminem beats. I got my notes right here. I'm going to break down my beat, Wake Up. And I'm also going to talk about Eminem beats in general, talk about some of the things he usually does in his beats. So let's get to it. Alright, let's start with the drums. I'm going to give you guys a couple examples of what an Eminem drum pattern looks like and what it doesn't look like. I'm going to talk about the drums I used for this beat. So when Eminem does his drum patterns, they're not usually too complex. He usually keeps it pretty simple. So here's an example of something he might use. Here's the drum pattern he used in Rain Man. I'm sure you guys will recognize this. And then here's what he did in You Don't Know, the song on Refill. Not Refill, Re-Up, sorry. Alright, so what he doesn't do is stuff like this. It's a little bit too dancey for Eminem. You can try to make an Eminem beat with that kind of drum pattern, but I wouldn't advise it. So now let's look at what I used for the kicks right here. Nice and simple. I practice what I preach. You don't have to overdo it on the drums. Let's see if we can find the snares. I layered both the kicks and the snares. Here's the snare just on 2 and 4. Oh, and one thing before I forget. Eminem does occasionally do this with his snare. Ooh, this. Where he slides the snare a 16th note before the 4th beat in the measure. He did that in Who Knew and Nail in the Coffin, I believe. So that's something that Eminem mixes in every once in a while, but usually he keeps the snare on the 2 and 4. Next up, let's talk about the bass. For my bass and Wake Up, I used Rollin' Bassline from Nexus, and I just played a pretty repetitive bass line. The song's in C minor, so I just played C 8th notes throughout the beat. This is something I think Eminem has done before in one of his beats, but I can't remember which one. Something more common Eminem does is he just lines up the bass notes with the kick notes, and he keeps it pretty simple with the bass too. So here's what my bass sounded like in Wake Up soloed. Yeah, so it just kind of drives the beat, keeps the momentum going because it hits so often. For the melody, I used a clavinet. It's an instrument Eminem used in Till I Collapse and Soldier. I think he's used it in a couple other beats too, but those are the two beats that come to the top of my head immediately. I also played constant note at the bottom here to keep the momentum going in the beat so it wasn't too start and stop. And then I also moved these 4 notes a 16th note. Oh, that note. 16th note before the beat hits, just to kind of catch your ear by surprise a little bit and make the beat a little bit more interesting. I originally had these notes like this, but that was kind of boring, so I changed it, and I thought it sounded a lot better. One other thing, and this goes for rap beats in general, and definitely Eminem beats too. So this is a C minor. If you're gonna make a if you're gonna make a rap beat, usually they're going to be in minor scales, unless you're making like a Lil Yachty beat or something like that. That would be in a major scale probably. So you have to emphasize these notes that are a semitone apart, the G sharp or the A flat and the G, and the E flat and the D, which is what I have here. I play them consecutively, and it gives it a little bit more of an angry or displeasant sound, so it's not too happy. So that's probably something that you want to incorporate in your beat if you're trying to make an Eminem beat or any type of rap beat, really. Wrap up notes. So Eminem usually in his beats will wrap up every 8 bars or every 4 bars by bringing in another instrument at the end and just playing something quick. I did this in Sick with a guitar Don't Cross Me with horns, and I did it here with the piano, and I did it in pretty much all my Eminem beats. So here's what the piano sounds like. I played chords here. Usually I don't. With the Sick, Sick actually was chords too, but Don't Cross Me with the horns was only one note at a time. So here's what the piano sounds like. And it just kind of wraps up the segment of the song and sends it to the next part. Eminem does this in You Don't Know with horns. And yeah, he does this a lot if you listen to his beats. So you can look for that the next time you're listening to an Eminem song. For the hook, Eminem usually brings in a higher pitched instrument and plays some higher pitched notes just to keep the energy, or just to bring the energy up during the hook. For this, I used another clav for the hook in this beat, and I just played something pretty simple here. And yeah, I played it twice, just repeated it twice for the hook. Also, before the hook, I used a reverse cymbal to transition into the hook, and I cut out the drums before the hook hit, just to make it hit a little bit harder when it did come in. So here's what the hook sounds like in the beat. The intro for this beat I did a little differently than I do most of my intros for Eminem beats. Usually I just play the melody with no drums for the intro, and then I bring in the drums for the first verse. But I wanted to have an instrument that wasn't in the rest of the beat to start off here, give it an eerie feel, and then bring in the actual beat. Something like Go to Sleep by Eminem, DMX, and Obi Trice, the Ja Rule diss. That starts with an organ. It plays a couple eerie notes, and then the actual beat comes in. So I did something like that. I picked a piano from Nexus, and I laid down these chords. So I'll let you hear it. And I ended on a C minor chord because it's in a C minor key, because I wanted it to feel finished when it was done. I could have used a different chord to end and made it feel unfinished and a little bit more eerie. So that's an option if you wanted to do that, but that's not what I did here. And that's pretty much the beat. It's not too complex like most Eminem beats. It'll give him some room to rap, or whoever raps over it, it'll give them room to rap. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, any other beats you want me to break down, leave them in the comment section and I'll get to it.